The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the massive space station. It hung there, a shining jewel against the backdrop of stars. This was the home of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful alien races in the galaxy met to make big decisions. Inside the station, beings from 100 different worlds walked the halls. Some had blue skin, others had tentacles, and a few even floated in the air. They all shared one thing. They thought they were the smartest and strongest in the galaxy. In a big room with a round table, the council members sat. They talked about boring things like trade routes and energy credits. But today, something new was on their minds. Humans. These humans, said a tall alien with 4 arms, they're new to space travel. They're like babies taking their first steps. Another alien, who looked like a big caterpillar, laughed. Yes, it's cute how they think they're ready to join us. They'd barely know how to leave their own solar system. The aliens didn't know it, but they were very wrong about humans. Far away from the Galactic Council, a sleek spaceship flew through the stars. Its name was painted on the side in big letters. THUNDERBOLT. This was Earth's best battleship, and it was on a very important mission. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung sat in his big chair. He was a strong man with short black hair and kind eyes. But right now, those eyes were serious as he looked at the stars on the big screen in front of him. "Captain," said a voice. It was Hana, his second in command. "We just got a message from Earth. They want us to go to the Galactic Council." Jae-sung nodded. "Did they say why?" Hana shook her head. "No, sir, just that it's very important." The captain stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. He looked out at his crew. They were the best Earth had to offer, men and women who had trained for years for this mission. "Listen up, everyone," Jae-sung said. His voice was calm but firm. "We're going to the Galactic Council. This could be our chance to show them what humans can do." The crew cheered. They had all heard stories about how the aliens looked down on humans. This was their chance to prove them wrong. As the Thunderbolt changed course, heading for the Council's space station, Jae-sung thought about what might happen. He knew the aliens didn't think much of humans, but he also knew something they didn't. Humans were special. Back on the space station, a human woman named Unji was getting ready for a big meeting. She was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. Unji was smart and brave, but even she felt nervous as she put on her best suit. "Today's the day," she said to herself in the mirror. "Today, we show them what humans can do." Unji left her room and walked to the council chamber. Aliens of all shapes and sizes stared at her as she passed. Some looked curious, others looked like they were trying not to laugh. When she entered the big room with the round table, all the aliens turned to look at her. Unji took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Respected members of the Galactic Council," she said in a clear voice, "I come before you today to ask that Earth be allowed to join your ranks." The room was quiet for a moment. Then one of the aliens spoke. It was the tall one with 4 arms. "Ambassador," he said, trying to sound nice, "we appreciate your enthusiasm, but Earth is still very young. You have much to learn before you can join us." Unji didn't give up. "We may be young," she said, "but we are quick learners. We have made great progress in a short time. We ask for a chance to prove ourselves." The aliens started to talk among themselves. Some sounded angry, others just laughed. Unji stood there, feeling very alone. Suddenly, a loud alarm started to ring. Red lights flashed all over the room. The aliens looked around, confused and scared. A voice came over the speakers. "Warning, unknown ships approaching. This is not a drill." The Galactic Council was under attack. And far away, but getting closer every second, the human battleship Thunderbolt raced towards the space station. Captain Jae-sung and his crew didn't know it yet, but they were about to change the galaxy forever. The alarms kept ringing on the Galactic Council's space station. Red lights flashed everywhere. Aliens ran around, not sure what to do. Yunji, the human ambassador, stood still in the middle of all this chaos. She thought quickly. "Council members," she said in a loud voice, "we need to work together. This is not the time to argue." The tall alien with 4 arms looked at her. He seemed surprised that a human was being so brave. "You're right," he said. "What do you suggest?" Before Yunji could answer, a big screen on the wall turned on. A face appeared on it. The face belonged to an alien no one had seen before. It had dark red skin and sharp teeth. "Galactic Council," the alien said in a deep, scary voice. "I am Karg, leader of the Vorn. We have come to take what is ours." The council room got very quiet. Everyone was afraid. Karg kept talking. "For too long, you have ignored us. Now you will give us a place on the council, or we will destroy you all." Yunji stepped forward. She was scared, but she didn't show it. "This is not the way to join the council," she said. "We can talk about this peacefully." Karg laughed. It was not a nice laugh. "Humans," he said, "always thinking they can solve everything by talking. You are too weak to stop us." The screen went black. Then the whole space station shook. The Vorn were attacking. Meanwhile, far away in space, the human battleship Thunderbolt was racing towards the council station. Captain Jae-sung sat in his chair, looking worried. "How long until we reach the station?" he asked. Hana, his second-in-command, checked her screen. 10 minutes, Captain," she said. Jae-sung nodded. "That might be too late," he said, "but we have to try." Just then, a message came in. It was from Earth. Jae-sung read it, and his eyes got wide. "Listen up, everyone," he said to his crew. "Earth has given us new orders. We are to protect the Galactic Council at all costs." The crew looked at each other. They knew this was big. Humans had never fought aliens before. "But sir," said Sungmin, the chief engineer, "our weapons, the Council doesn't know about them. If we use them, we'll show all our secrets." Jae-sung stood up. He looked at each member of his crew. "I know," he said, "but sometimes we have to take risks to do what's right. Are you with me?" The crew all nodded. They were ready. Back at the space station, things were getting bad. The Vorn ships were everywhere. They fired their weapons at the station and at the other alien ships. Yunji watched from a window. She saw ships from all the alien races trying to fight back. But the Vorn were too strong. One by one, the alien ships were destroyed. "We need help," said the 4-armed alien. He didn't sound proud anymore. He sounded scared. Yunji turned to him. "Help is coming," she said. She hoped she was right. In space, the Thunderbolt finally arrived. Captain Jae-sung saw the battle on his big screen. There were hundreds of Vorn ships. The Thunderbolt was just one ship. "This is it," Jae-sung said. "Sungmin, power up all systems. Yu-jin, get ready to show them what our weapons can do." The crew got to work. Buttons were pressed. Levers were pulled. The Thunderbolt began to change. On the station, Yunji suddenly saw a bright light in space. She looked closer. It was a ship, but not like any she had seen before. It was glowing with strange energy. "What is that?" asked an alien next to her. Yunji smiled. "That," she said, "is a human battleship." The Thunderbolt flew towards the Vorn ships. It was one against many. But Captain Jae-sung wasn't afraid. He knew what his ship could do. "All right, everyone," he said. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." And with that, the Thunderbolt entered the battle. The Galactic Council was about to see something they would never forget. The Thunderbolt flew into the middle of the fight. Captain Jae-sung looked at the big screen. He saw hundreds of Vorn ships. They were all around the Galactic Council's space station. "Yu-jin," Jae-sung said to his weapons officer, "are our special guns ready?" Yu-jin nodded. Her fingers moved fast over her control panel. "Yes, Captain." We can fire when you say. Jae-sung took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would change everything. Fire, he said. The thunderbolt lit up. Bright beams of light shot out from all sides of the ship. They hit the Vorn ships. But instead of blowing up, the Vorn ships just stopped moving. On the Council space station, Yeonji and the aliens watched. Their mouths were open in surprise. What just happened? Asked the four-armed alien. Yeonji smiled. That, she said, is human technology. Back on the Thunderbolt, Jae-sung turned to his crew. Good job, he said. Our stasis beams worked. Now, let's show them what else we can do. The human ship moved fast. It flew between the frozen Vorn ships. More beams came from the Thunderbolt. But these were different. They cut through the Vorn ships like they were made of paper. In the council room, the aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. How is this possible? One of them asked. The humans. They're winning. Yeonji stood tall. She felt proud of her people. We may be new to space, she said, but we've learned a lot in a short time. On the big screen in the council room, Karg's face appeared again. The Vorn leader looked angry and scared. This isn't over, he shouted. Vorn ships, attack that human vessel. The Vorn ships that weren't frozen started to move. They all aimed at the Thunderbolt. Jae-sung saw this on his screen. Hannah, he said to his second-in-command. Activate the shield. Hannah pressed a button. A blue glow appeared around the Thunderbolt. The Vorn ships fired. Their weapons hit the blue glow, but nothing happened to the Thunderbolt. Impossible, Karg yelled. His voice came through the council's speakers. Nothing can stop our weapons. Jae-sung smiled. He pressed a button to talk to Karg. Nothing you know of, he said. But humans are full of surprises. The battle continued. The Thunderbolt moved fast, dodging attacks and firing back. More and more Vorn ships were destroyed or frozen. On the space station, the council members watched in amazement. They had thought humans were weak. Now they saw how wrong they were. Yeonji felt a tap on her shoulder. It was the four-armed alien. Ambassador, he said, I think we need to talk about Earth joining the council. Yeonji nodded, but before she could speak, the station shook hard. Alarms started ringing again. What's happening? Yeonji asked. An alien at a control panel looked scared. The Vorn have broken through our defenses, he said. They're coming aboard. Everyone in the room looked afraid. They had thought they were safe in the station. Now the enemy was inside. Yeonji thought fast. She tapped her communicator. Captain Jae-sung, she said, we need help. The Vorn are on the station. On the Thunderbolt, Jae-sung heard Yeonji's message. He looked at his crew. You heard her, he said. We need to get on that station. But Captain, Sung-min said, if we leave the ship, who will pilot it? Jae-sung smiled. That's another surprise we have for our alien friends, he said. He pressed a button on his chair. Computer, activate autopilot combat mode. A voice came from the ship's speakers. Autopilot combat mode activated, it said. The crew looked amazed. They didn't know the ship could fight by itself. All right, Jae-sung said. Let's go save the council. As the crew got ready to leave the ship, Jae-sung looked out at the battle. He knew this was just the beginning. The real fight was about to start inside the station. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The space station shook again. Yeonji and the council members looked around, scared. They could hear loud noises getting closer. They're coming, said the four-armed alien. The Vorn are almost here. Yeonji stood up straight. She was afraid, but she didn't show it. We need to find a safe place, she said. Follow me. She led the council members out of the big room. They ran down long hallways. The station kept shaking. Lights flickered on and off. Suddenly, they heard a loud crash behind them. Yeonji looked back. She saw red-skinned Vorn soldiers coming around the corner. Run, she shouted. The aliens ran faster, but some of them were slow. The Vorn were catching up. Just then, there was a bright flash of light. Yun-Jae blinked. When she opened her eyes, she saw Captain Jae-sung and his crew standing in front of her. How did you get here?" asked a shocked council member. Jae-sung smiled. "Teleporters," he said. Another human surprise. The Vorn soldiers came around the corner. They saw the humans and stopped. "Weapons ready," Jae-sung said to his crew. They all pulled out strange-looking guns. The Vorn leader stepped forward. "Your primitive weapons can't hurt us," he growled. Jae-sung didn't answer. He just fired his gun. But instead of a bullet, a net of energy came out. It wrapped around the Vorn leader, who fell to the ground. The other humans fired too. Soon, all the Vorn soldiers were trapped in energy nets. The council members watched with open mouths. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Amazing," said the four-armed alien. "Simply amazing." Yun-Jae felt proud. This was why she believed in humans. They always found new ways to solve problems. "We need to get to the control room," Jae-sung said. "We can stop the attack from there." They all started moving again. This time, the humans led the way. Whenever they met Vorn soldiers, the humans quickly caught them with their energy nets. Finally, they reached the control room. But the door was locked. "Stand back," said Sung-min, the chief engineer. He pulled out a small device and put it on the door. The device glowed, and the door opened. Inside, they found more Vorn soldiers. These ones were trying to use the station's computers. "Stop them," shouted a council member. "They're trying to take control of our defenses." Jae-sung and his crew sprang into action. They fired their energy nets, trapping the Vorn. Sung-min ran to the main computer. His fingers flew over the keys. "I can lock them out," he said. "But I need time." "You've got it," Jae-sung said. He and the others stood guard, watching for more Vorn. On the big screen in the control room, they could see the space battle outside. The Thunderbolt was still fighting, all by itself. It moved like it had a mind of its own, dodging attacks and firing back. "Incredible," said an alien council member. "Your ship fights without a crew." Jae-sung nodded. "Advanced AI," he explained. "It can think and fight on its own." Suddenly, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed everywhere. "What's happening?" Yun-Jae asked. Sung-min looked worried. "The Vorn," he said. "They've activated the station's self-destruct sequence." Everyone in the room gasped. If the station blew up, they would all die. "Can you stop it?" Jae-sung asked. Sung-min shook his head. "Not from here. The main controls are in the center of the station." Jae-sung thought for a moment. Then he had an idea. "Sung-min," he said, "can you link our ship's AI to the station's computers?" Sung-min's eyes lit up. "Yes, that might work." He started typing fast. On the screen, they saw the Thunderbolt turn and fly towards the station. "What are you doing?" asked a council member. "Letting our ship's AI take control," Jae-sung explained. "It's smarter and faster than any of us. If anyone can stop the self-destruct, it's our AI." Everyone watched the screen. The Thunderbolt got closer and closer to the station. Then, it stopped just outside. For a few seconds, nothing happened. The alarms kept ringing. Everyone held their breath. Then suddenly, the alarms stopped. The red lights turned off. "Self-destruct sequence deactivated," said a calm voice from the speakers. Everyone cheered. They had done it. The station was safe. Yun-Jae looked at Jae-sung and smiled. "I think," she said, "the council might want to reconsider Earth's application now." Jae-sung nodded, but he knew the fight wasn't over yet. The Vorn were still out there. And the biggest challenges for humanity might be yet to come. The control room of the space station was quiet. Everyone was catching their breath after the close call with the self-destruct system. But Captain Jae-sung knew they couldn't relax yet. "The Vorn are still out there," he said. "We need to end this fight." Yu Jin, the tactical officer, stepped forward. "Captain," she said, "I have an idea." Everyone turned to look at her. Even the alien council members were interested. "Go on," Jae-sung said. Yu-jin pointed to the big screen showing the space battle. "The Vorn ships move in a pattern," she explained. "If we can guess where they'll go next, we can trap them." The four-armed alien looked confused. "But how?" he asked. "Their fleet is too big." Yu-jin smiled. "Not for our eye," she said. "If we let it control all the station's defenses, it can outthink the Vorn." Jae-sung nodded. He liked this plan, but he turned to the council members. "It's your station," he said. "We need your permission." The aliens looked at each other. They seemed unsure. Then Yeonji spoke up. "Members of the council," she said, "humans have saved your lives today. Please, trust us one more time." There was a moment of silence. Then the four-armed alien nodded. "Do it," he said. Sung-min, the chief engineer, got to work. His fingers flew over the computer keys. "Linking our eye to the station's systems now," he said. On the big screen, they could see the Thunderbolt move closer to the station. Lights blinked as data flowed between the ship and the station. Suddenly, the station's weapons came to life. Laser beams shot out into space, but they weren't aiming at the Vorn ships. Instead, they were hitting empty spots. "What's happening?" asked a council member. "They're missing." Jae-sung smiled. "Wait for it," he said. A second later, Vorn ships appeared right where the lasers had fired. The ships exploded as soon as they came out of light speed. Everyone in the control room gasped. The AI had predicted exactly where the Vorn would appear. "Amazing," said the four-armed alien. "How did it know?" "Machine learning," Sung-min explained. "Our eye watched the Vorn's movements and figured out their plan." The battle continued. The station's weapons, guided by the Thunderbolt's AI, fired again and again. Each time, they hit Vorn ships just as they appeared. On another screen, they could see Karg, the Vorn leader. He looked angry and confused. "How are they doing this?" he shouted. "It's impossible." Yeonji stepped forward. "Karg," she said in a strong voice, "this is your last chance. Surrender now, or we will destroy your entire fleet." Karg growled. "Never," he said. "Vorn do not surrender." Jae-sung shook his head. "Then you leave us no choice," he said. He nodded to Yu-jin. She pressed a button on her control panel. Suddenly, the Thunderbolt started to change. Parts of the ship moved and shifted. It grew bigger and bigger. The Vorn ships tried to attack, but their weapons couldn't hurt the Thunderbolt. The human ship's shield was too strong. "What is this?" asked a council member, his eyes wide. "Our secret weapon," Jae-sung said. "We call it the Mega Mode." The Thunderbolt was now 5 times its original size. It looked like a giant metal hand reaching out into space. With one swift motion, the giant ship swept through the Vorn fleet. Hundreds of enemy ships were caught in its grasp. "Last chance, Karg," Jae-sung said. "Surrender, or we crush your ships." On the screen, they could see Karg's face. For the first time, he looked afraid. I, he stammered. Then finally, he lowered his head. "We surrender," he said in a low voice. A cheer went up in the control room. The council members hugged each other. Some of them even hugged the humans. Yeonji looked at Jae-sung and smiled. "We did it," she said. Jae-sung nodded. "Yes," he said, "but this is just the beginning." He looked out at the stars beyond the station. "The galaxy now knows what humans can do," he said. "Everything is going to change." As the Thunderbolt returned to its normal size, with the defeated Vorn fleet in tow, everyone in the control room knew that a new era had begun. Humans were no longer the new kids in the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the Galactic Council would never be the same again. The big room of the Galactic Council was full. Aliens from all over the galaxy sat around the table. They talked in low, excited voices. Everyone was waiting for the meeting to start. At the head of the table sat the four-armed alien. He looked different now. His eyes were wide with respect as he looked at the humans. Captain Jae-sung and Ambassador Yunji stood nearby. They were calm, but inside they felt excited. This was a big moment for Earth. The four-armed alien stood up. The room got quiet. "Members of the Galactic Council," he said, "we are here to talk about what happened yesterday. The attack by the Vorn, and the help we got from the humans." Everyone turned to look at Jae-sung and Yunji. Some aliens smiled. Others looked worried. First, the four-armed alien said, "We must thank Captain Jae-sung and his crew. Without them, we might all be dead." The room filled with sounds of agreement. Many aliens nodded their heads. But the four-armed alien continued, "We must also talk about what this means. The humans have shown they are much stronger than we thought." A small green alien stood up. "They tricked us," he said in a high voice. "They hid their true power." Yunji stepped forward. "We didn't trick anyone," she said calmly. "We simply didn't show all our cards at once. Isn't that what any smart race would do?" The green alien sat down, looking embarrassed. Another alien, tall and thin, spoke next. "But what about their eye?" he asked. "It's so powerful. What if it decides to turn against us?" Jae-sung answered this time. "Our AI is designed to help, not harm," he said. "It follows strict rules. It can't hurt anyone unless we're attacked first." The aliens talked among themselves. Some seemed convinced. Others still looked worried. Then, a surprise. Karg, the Vorn leader, was brought into the room. He was in chains, guarded by human soldiers. Everyone got quiet. They waited to see what would happen. Karg looked around the room. Then he did something no one expected. He bowed his head to the humans. "I was wrong about you," he said in a low voice. "You are not weak. You are the strongest race I have ever seen." The room buzzed with surprise. The mighty Vorn, admitting they were wrong. Yunji stepped towards Karg. "We don't want to be your enemies," she said. "We want peace with all races, even the Vorn." Karg looked up, surprised. "Even after we attacked you?" he asked. Jae-sung nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance," he said. "That's another human belief." The four-armed alien cleared his throat. "This brings us to our main question," he said. "What do we do now? The humans have proved they are powerful. Maybe too powerful for us to ignore." The room got quiet again. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. An old alien with long whiskers stood up slowly. "I have been on this council for many years," he said. "I have seen races come and go. But I have never seen anything like the humans." He turned to look at Jae-sung and Yunji. "You have technology we don't understand. You have ideas we never thought of. You are different from us in many ways." The old alien paused. Everyone held their breath. "And that," he said with a smile, "is exactly why we need you on this council." The room exploded with noise. Most aliens were cheering. A few looked unhappy, but they were outnumbered. The four-armed alien raised his hands for quiet. When everyone settled down, he spoke again. "It seems we have made our decision," he said. He turned to Yunji. "Ambassador, we would like to formally invite Earth to join the Galactic Council. Do you accept?" Yunji felt her heart racing. This was the moment she had worked for. She looked at Jae-sung, who nodded with a smile. She turned back to the council and stood up straight. "On behalf of Earth and all humans," she said in a clear voice, "we accept." The room filled with cheers again. Aliens from all over the galaxy came to shake hands with the humans. As Yunji and Jae-sung looked around the room, they knew this was just the beginning. Humans were now part of something bigger than they had ever imagined. The galaxy would never be the same again. And the greatest adventure was just beginning. 1 year had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed a lot in that time. Humans were now a big part of space life. On the Galactic Council's space station, a party was happening. Aliens from all over the galaxy were there. They were celebrating the first year of Earth being in the Council. Yunji walked through the crowd. Many aliens smiled and waved at her. She was now a respected leader in the galaxy. She saw Captain Jae-sung talking to a group of young aliens. They looked excited to meet the famous human captain. And then, Jae-sung was saying, "Our ship turned into the giant hand and caught all the Vorn ships." The young aliens cheered. Jae-sung's story of the battle was famous now. Yunji smiled and walked on. She saw Sung-min, the chief engineer, showing some aliens a small device. "This," Sung-min said, "is our new universal translator. It can translate any language in the galaxy instantly." The aliens looked amazed. One of them spoke into the device. It repeated his words in perfect English. "Wonderful," the alien said. "This will help us all understand each other better." In another part of the room, Yu Jin was teaching a group of aliens how to play a human game called chess. "It's all about thinking ahead," she explained, "just like in space battles." The aliens nodded, looking very interested. Yunji felt proud. Humans weren't just part of the galaxy now. They were helping to make it better. She walked to a big window and looked out at space. She could see Earth's new space fleet out there. The ships were helping to keep the galaxy safe. Suddenly, someone tapped her shoulder. It was the four-armed alien who had been in charge of the council before. "Ambassador Yunji," he said with a smile. "Are you enjoying the party?" Yunji nodded. "It's wonderful," she said. "I never thought I'd see humans and aliens getting along so well." The four-armed alien laughed. "Neither did I," he said. "You humans have surprised us all." They stood quietly for a moment, looking out at the stars. "You know," the alien said, "some of us were scared of humans at first. We thought you might try to take over the galaxy." Yunji turned to him. "And now?" she asked. The alien smiled. "Now we see that humans don't want to rule over others. You want to work with us to make the galaxy better for everyone." Just then, they heard a commotion. They turned to see Karg, the former Vorn leader, walking into the room. Everyone got quiet. They remembered how Karg had attacked the council a year ago. But Karg wasn't in chains now. He walked up to Yunji and the four-armed alien and bowed. "I come with news," Karg said. "The Vorn have voted. We want to join the Galactic Council." The room buzzed with excitement. The Vorn, the former enemies, wanted to join. Yunji smiled at Karg. "What made you change your mind?" she asked. Karg looked around the room. "We saw how humans treated us after the battle," he said. "You showed us kindness when you could have destroyed us. We want to learn from you." The four-armed alien looked at Yunji. "What do you think, Ambassador?" he asked. "Should we let the Vorn join?" Yunji thought for a moment. Then she nodded. "Everyone deserves a second chance," she said. "That's the human way." The room erupted in cheers. Aliens patted Karg on the back. The galaxy was changing again, and it was changing for the better. As the party went on, Yunji found Jae-sung. They stood by the window, looking out at the stars. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Jae-sung asked. Yunji shook her head. "Never," she said. "But I'm glad we did." Jae-sung nodded. "So what's next for humans in the galaxy?" he asked. Yunji smiled. She pointed out at the stars. "Out there," she said, "there's so much more to explore, so much more to learn. And now we can do it together with all these other races." As they watched, a group of ships flew past the window. There were human ships, alien ships, and even a Vorn ship. They were all flying together, working as one fleet. It was a new day for the galaxy, and humans were a big part of it. The adventure was just beginning.